Welcome to Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel. Good morning, gorgeous people. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel, where we share stories of hope, inspiration, and determination of breast cancer survivors who are now thriving on the other side of breast cancer. I am your host, Lena Noelle. I am a two-time breast cancer survivor. I'm an international speaker, a best-selling author, and also a breast cancer recovery strategist. And today we have with us the gorgeous Lena. Lena, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share my story here.
The pleasure is all mine, and I truly mean that. Like, I love doing these interviews so that we can let women know that not only can life be good after breast cancer, but it can be better than ever before. And so I always like to start out with the question of what the age of your diagnosis and the type of diagnosis. I just believe that it helps us become more relatable to the ladies who are watching.
Right. So, 38 years old. I found my own lump, and it turned out to be a triple negative breast cancer. And it also turned out that I have a BRCA gene, BRCA1.
So tell us more about what that means for the ladies who don't know what BRCA1 means.
So it's a genetic predisposition that increases your risk for several types of cancers across your lifetime. So for me, it was breast cancer first. After that, it increases the risk for ovarian cancer in the next decade. And then after that, it's pancreatic. But that risk is at a lower rate. For me, at least, every genetic test is individual, even if it's the same. Like we talk about BRCA1, there's so many different components to each one. So don't look at mine and think that yours is the same. But my mother had breast cancer 20 years prior my diagnosis.
Wow.
And we didn't know, we didn't have this capability of finding out this genetic predisposition. She passed away when I was 18. And so everyone thought it was attributed to something completely different. But as we found out later on, because I had the gene, then it probably is true that she had it too.
Oh, wow. Okay. So thank you for educating us. 38 years old is young, right, for breast cancer. I was 35 at the time of my first diagnosis. And like you, I found my own lump. Um, I was blessed enough that I had pain associated with mine. So, for a lot of ladies who are watching, usually there is no pain associated with it. You'll just find the lump. I really think God was trying to get my attention when He poked me. So tell us about your treatment plan.
So, Dee, it was interesting when you said God was trying to get your attention. In my case, God was trying to get my attention too. And He gave me this amazing attention to detail. And mine was an indent on my skin, which was really strange. I was putting on pajamas and my pinky brushed against my skin, and there was that little divot. And that's what kind of pointed me into discovering more and then finding that deeper within the tissue. My treatment plan, so I have a medical background. So that detailed
Okay.
mind we just mentioned went haywire. It really wanted to know all the ins and outs and figuring out what to do and to kind of I was chasing this thing I felt would be the right answer. Like, what is the right answer in picking my treatment? Because obviously there's so many different choices and so many different things the doctors come at you with. But my overarching sentence that I continued to kind of hear in my head, given what happened with my mom, was, Lena, you're going to come out better than before. Had no explanation to it whatsoever. there was not really like how, like seriously, the rational brain did not what do you mean better than before? In what way? Am I going to look better? Am I going to feel better? Am I going to act better? Am I going to succeed in some way that I couldn't before? But I believe that every treatment decision I had was guided by that sort of a header, saying you're going to come out better than before. I asked different questions. I inquired about different paths in a completely different way than if that sentence wasn't there. And yeah, so then when I ended up picking my treatment, I did a double mastectomy right away.
Okay.
And then after that, there were a lot of reconstruction choices that were kind of thrown out as possibilities. And I decided that I did not want to be making the choice for reconstruction in the middle of chemo. It was kind of my way of grabbing for some semblance of space, time, and control over the
Mhm.
situation. So I just went flat. Um, and just allowed them to close it all up and heal, and then went through chemo. And after chemo was done, I started thinking about my reconstruction choices, and it actually turned out indeed better than before in so many ways. And then a couple years later, I went through a prophylactic oophorectomy, which means they take out your ovaries, because that was my next level of high risk.
Risk. Mhm.
And here we are 6 years later.
6 years later, thriving. I love it. So did I understand you to say that you chose to stay flat?
No, I did have a reconstruction, but I had it later. It was like
Okay.
a year
Groovy.
later.
Groovy. Okay, got it. So I love that one of the things that you spoke to here, Lena, that I think is really important for anybody watching is that you gave yourself space and time to make those decisions. Because I know that for me, the first time when I got on the cancer train, that mug took off, right? And everything was going so fast. And I didn't give myself space and time. I just kind of let the medical team tell me what to do. And then I did whatever they told me to do without regard for my own decisions or choices or any of those things. And what I love, one of the things that you said that I also love, Lena, is you said the treatment options that I chose. I think that's important because I want women to know that you do have a choice, right? Your medical team is going to come at you with your options, and we get to decide what we want. Do we want to go through chemotherapy? Do we want to look for a more natural solution? Do we want to have reconstruction? Do you want to stay flat? What type of reconstruction do you want to have? Like, you have choices, right? And I think that that's important to know that we still have, this is our body. Our medical choices are our own, and we lean into our medical team for advice, but ultimately we get to choose, right? And we can slow the train down. Like, we don't have to get on the train and let it take off the way mine did. So I love that you spoke about giving yourself space and time to make the best decision for you. And I think that's important for anybody watching. So thank you.
You're welcome. You want to hear a goosebumpy story?
Of course, love goosebumpy stories.
So when I was sitting with my choices, because there were drugs and there were things that there could be an alternative and different way of approaching it from the conventional medical standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I had my list. I had my column here and my column here, and my beautiful rational brain was going after the right answer. I'm like, if I don't pick right, my children are going to lose a mother, my husband is going to lose a wife, and all this stuff that happened to me when I lost my mom was coming in if I don't make the right choice. But I do ascribe to a faith. I'm a Christian, and when I was doing this thing in my head, another sentence, right? Lena, you can't screw this up. I've got you either way. So in that moment, I was like, okay, so even no matter what choice I make, if I am meant to remain here and to serve my purpose and to walk out the path that I'm meant to walk, it doesn't matter what choice I make. I just have to make one and walk with it.
Love it. I love it. That is a goosebumpy story. I listen, I believe, and one of the things that I'm loving about this YouTube channel is that 99% of the women who have come on to share their story have talked about how God has intervened and their faith and how their faith has gotten them through. So I love that God said to you, you can't screw this up. Basically letting us know you're not even in control here. Right? Like I got you and I'm doing what I consider God doing in us is a perfect work. I'm doing a perfect work in you. And all I'm asking from you is that you give me the glory, that you let people know that I had you, that you let people know what I've done for you, right? I do. I have goosebumps. Thank
And that
you.
you put one foot in front of the other. That's really all that's required.
That's action. One of the things that I'm always saying, Lena, is God can't bless actions we don't take.
Yeah.
Right. So we just have to take action and have faith and belief and know that God has us. So I love that God spoke to you and said, I got you. Either way, no matter what choice you make, I know you're looking for the right choice, but either choice you make, I got you.
Yeah.
I
And then
love
you
it.
just walk. You just
That
walk.
you just walk by faith, literally, just walk by faith. I love it. I love that. Okay, so tell me what your biggest challenges were with your breast cancer diagnosis.
Ooh. So I guess number one, when I first heard, and I knew, like in my heart of hearts, the moment I found that lump, I knew what it was. But when I got the call with the confirmation, my biggest challenge was to let go of my mother's story and
Mm,
decide that I am worthy of writing my own.
I love that.
And so in that moment, I could not picture a face of a woman that survived more than a couple of years and that thriving was like not even on the horizon of what I was reaching for. I wanted to see the face of someone who went through it in the way that I wanted to come out of it better than before. And
Absolutely.
honestly, the reason I show up in things like this, the reason I met you, Dee, is because I want to be that face for other people. That face that I didn't see in that moment in time. Now, like my horizon is completely different. I see women that I needed to see in that moment every single day at every corner. They are everywhere. I mean, look at you.
They are everywhere. We are everywhere. We, Lena, Dee, oh, Joe, Karen, the myriad of ladies that I've interviewed thus far, we are everywhere, being an example of what's possible on the other side of breast cancer. Thank you for speaking to that.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that was the challenge. And it took me a little bit of time to kind of get into the groove of I wasn't ready to jump into these large groups of women for support because I didn't know what was going to come out of it. I didn't need to add to that list of things that didn't help me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just decided that I get to write my own story. I think that was the resolution to the challenge that came right in front of this whole thing. And then obviously going through treatment, the right team was put into place. Because I was asking the right questions, I was asking my questions from that headline better than before. Like, well,
Mm-hmm.
how can I do this surgery so that I would come out better than before? What supports would I need? How can
Mm-hmm.
I choose my chemo regimen so that I would come out better than before? What am I going to be able to do to maximize my vibrancy, to maximize my recovery, to avoid, different things like neuropathy and fatigue and all the things that women go through. And then we haven't even talked about this oophorectomy part of like hitting menopause like a brick wall.
Yes,
So all of that is a challenge, but if you ask the right questions from the right place, every one of them has a solution.
absolutely. Absolutely. And look at you now, right? Like, I love it. So tell me, Lena, about any lessons learned from your breast cancer journey. I know that you talk about how you learned that you could write your own story. We talked about how God let you know that I got you, you can't make a wrong choice. I've learned that you asked your questions from the space of not only are you going to survive this, but you're going to be better than ever before. So tell us about what other lessons you learned on your breast cancer journey.
Ooh, so my big one, when you were speaking that question, the first one that came to mind was, and everyone's beating this drum of self-care.
Yes.
Everyone's talking about how you have to put yourself first.
Mhm.
But it didn't resonate with me until I went through my breast cancer journey because I didn't see it in action. I didn't see it at work. The minute I got my diagnosis, my life was completely full to the brim. I was the mom that was packing her schedule. If I had a 15-minute time increment between one thing and another, and somebody asked me to do something, I would shove it into that 15-minute increment and be proud of myself that I was able to run from this to this to this to this and not skip a beat. But
Being
it
superwoman.
yeah, superwoman is possible, but it takes a toll. And I thought that she was worth it. I thought being superwoman was the thing to do. However, I have never met this other woman that is able to create space for herself and the results that come out of that. The depth of relationships, the depth of relationship with myself that can then flow out into my inner circle and other people that I interact with, it feels so different. And it's no longer a choice of, do I let these people down and say no? Or do I continue to push through? It's a way of life. It's how I know that I make the greatest impact, how I know that I walk the path that I'm here to do, the reason I'm alive, really, and focus and clarify that rather than fill it up and have it be foggy and muffled.
I love it. So you learn the act of self-care and the importance of self-care. And you learn that you don't have to be everything, all things to all people, is what I'm hearing. And that you learned that if I just put my own face mask on first and I take care of myself first, I'm a better mom, I'm a better wife, I'm a better friend, I'm a better whatever I need to be for the people around me that I love if I take care of myself first.
Right.
I love
Yes.
it. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. So I believe in self-care. I have a whole self-care Sunday. Like Sunday is my day to do anything or nothing
Mhm.
that I want to do. So thank you for speaking to that. So tell me, Lena, what it means to you to thrive and how that shows up in your life.
Mm. So thriving, I was actually writing about that a little bit ago. Thriving to me is what comes after surviving, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
First you survive and then you figure out what it is that's important to you and what it is that you need to be able to do it. So for me personally, thriving means ziplining over alligators at the alligator farm, right? For me, And it's not just about the zip line, it's about my physical capabilities that allow me to do that, that will
Yes,
also allow me to pick up my kid who's 11 years old and heavy, like he's getting big, but I can still hug him when he's crying and hurting, right?
yes,
So thriving to me is that thing that allows you to be the um full gamut of who you are and what you need to do. And if all I needed to do was write a book and read a book, I wouldn't need to go ziplining, right? Which is fine. For some people, that's it. But for me, it's different than for you, than for anybody else. And I think the question you ask needs to be asked as many times as there are women out there.
absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that I love, and I just heard from my mentor yesterday, he spoke to zip lining over the alligators, right? And it made me think about the act of courage that it takes to be able to do that, right? Because we're zip lining over alligators. That's it can be a little daunting, right? Or like the time my daughter made me bungee jump in Cabo, right? She was like, "No, mom, you can do this." And then after she did it at 12, I'm like, "Well, I guess I gotta kind of gotta do this." Right? But my mentor spoke to courage yesterday. And I think that courage is something that every woman experiences on this journey. And she said, speaking to ziplining over alligators, speaking to bungee jumping, speaking to thriving, she said, I do hard things, not because I want to prove to myself that I'm courageous enough, but because I want to make courage a muscle that I keep toned. Right. So we have to make courage a muscle, knowing that breast cancer is only one chapter in our story. It's not the whole book, and that we're going to be faced with other hard things. Right. But if we build that courage muscle, we can face any challenge put before us, knowing what Lena spoke to before, God's got us. Right. Like, I love it. So, being able to hug on your baby, being able to zip line over alligators, being able to make courageous choices on a daily basis is what I heard thriving means to you and how it shows up in your life, right? I love it. So tell us what you're up to now.
So you said courage, and I have a feeling that I need to tell you one last goosebumpy story. You
I
ready?
love goosebumpy stories. Bring them on.
So, okay, so first of all, in breast cancer, courage is always available to us as a choice. It's not something that simply happens to us. It's available to us to make a choice about. And when you talked about how you develop it as a muscle, I haven't really told this story to anyone out there before, but I feel like I need to tell this story now. It happened a couple months ago. Our house was hit by lightning,
Oh, wow.
and it was completely and utterly, like, everything. The contents are fine, but the electrical system's fried, the AC system's fried, and everything has to be rebuilt. And here's the goosebumpy part of it is when it happened, I did not have a fear response. There was no this, you know, everything's coming and crashing down on me. My first thought was, Lena, you get to rebuild your house. You get to get exactly what you want. Pick your fixtures, put in the doorknobs you've wanted all of this time, organize your closet. Like that was the thing that flashed in there.
I
And so
love it.
when you exercise that little muscle of resilience and courage and combine it all together, swirl, it doesn't matter what comes at you. And people are asking, I'm like, how are you doing? Like, what's going on with this house thing? And I'm like, you know what? It's not my health that's being threatened. It's not my loved ones that are being threatened. And and I'm okay. right?
I love it. I love it. So what I heard you say is when the house got struck by lightning, instead of you going, damn, what next? You were like, oh, this is what can happen from this. I love it. And that is what it looks like to build a courage muscle, right? To not be afraid of the challenges that life throws at us, but to know that there's opportunity in every challenge. There is
Yes,
opportunity in every single challenge, I believe, anyway.
me too. Absolutely. And if it's not readily apparent, you just squint a little and you find it.
That just squint a little and you'll find it. Sit with it, meditate, ask God, why is this happening for me? Because I believe the first question many of us ask is, why is this happening to me? Right? Instead of asking, why is this happening for me? And what is it you want me to gain from this experience? Those are my two questions from God. Why is this happening for me? And what is it I'm meant to gain from this experience? Because I believe that pain always leaves a gift. There is no pain without purpose. It's always, always to elevate us in some way, shape, or form, I believe.
Absolutely.
Well, Lena, thank you so much for sharing your story. Do you have anything else you want to share with our viewers before we depart?
I think I would love for anyone who's listening to this to look at me, to look at you, and to see that face that I didn't find in my first few days. And I would love for everyone to find their purpose and then give it away.
And give it away. You got to give it away to keep it. I love it. Like, find your purpose and then give that to the world. And I believe that every single person, this is just what I believe. I believe that every single person walking the planet has a gift that they're meant to give back to the world. That's the whole reason we're here, is to find that purpose and then give it back to the world. So thank you for speaking to that. I think that's super important. So this has been, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel, with the gorgeous Lena, who has dropped some amazing gems for us here today. I love it. I love that we talked about building your courage muscle. I love that we talked about leaning into your faith and knowing that you can't make a wrong choice. You just have to make a choice, right? I love that we talked to maximizing your vibrancy. I think is just delicious, right? So if you like what you've heard here today, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications so you'll know when we drop our next episodes. And don't forget to comment on, let us know what you found the most inspirational from Lena's story. Thank you guys for tuning in. We love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And don't forget, we're thriving on purpose. Bye for now. For more inspirational stories like these, please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember to turn on your notifications. Thank you for rocking with us. And remember, we're thriving on purpose.